Marfoogle TV live in 3, 2, 1. It's so weird. We talked about the black eye and secret groups, and then the show got shut down. Huh. So very weird. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to go right into the news, and again, our stream got, I don't know what happened, to be honest, but we'll talk about it in just a moment. U.S. government employee charged with trying to give classified information, but there's a catch here. So first off, the information was an IT guy that essentially gave or was trying to give information to a foreign nation. Which foreign nation they have not discussed. They said that Nathan Vilas Latch, 28 years old, of Alexandria, Virginia, was arrested at a location where he had arranged to deposit sensitive records to a person he thought was an official of a foreign government, but who was actually an undercover FBI agent. The identity of the country Latch thought he was in communication was not disclosed. So this, to me, again, I will say again, I think that this is one of the countries we're in peace talks with. Otherwise, why would they not disclose that? I've covered a million of these stories, and they usually say exactly who he was trying to get the information to. China, I think they would probably disclose that. So is this Iran or is this somebody else? I don't know. But again, it was odd. All right, this time we're going to go back, and we'll be back in a minute. And hopefully that this time nothing happens. No implants, no tracking devices. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I wonder, is someone taking over under the golden dome? Wonder, the flag above ya, is it the same one you think you want?
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to get into, but first off, there is a full source list over at marfooglenews.com. If you actually go to our website, marfooglenews.com, you'll see that everything is organized by thumbnail. So just look for today's, sorry about that, guys. Today's thumbnail, of course, you will see NATO is about to jump in, get prepped for anything. Again, that has a full source. God dang it. What is going on here? We covered that thing, and now everything is all messed up. I'm telling you, hey, by the way, this is not a button thing. This is, you guys, some of you may know Stream Deck, but my buttons are switching on their own. This is wild. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. It might go to intro. Hold on. Okay. What in the world? This is the weirdest thing I've had happen out of all of my years streaming. I've had my whole background fall down on me. I've had many things happen. I've never had Stream Deck buttons switch around. Now my third one down is the right one, and I don't have Stream Deck open. There's nobody changing it. And it does look, now that if I go to it, it has changed. That is so beyond wild. All right, anyways. So again, crazy stuff going on. We are going to go over it right now. I also want to do some house cleaning about the last video about the black eyes. I want to go further into that too. So let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Gosh,
not a black eye.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts us when it does that. I remember, you know, if you guys have ever watched Preparedness 1, he's like literally out in the boons. I'm sure he lost a lot of people for years there, because he would have a stream, he would start it, it would end, and then it would start again, and he would put like, try number 5 on the title. It's like, by then you've probably lost 50% or more of your people. But thank you guys for being patient with the technical errors. I appreciate that. All right. And then thank you for your mods. Make sure to drop an M down in the chat. No, I don't think I've been hacked. I think that sometimes my 19-year-old uses my computer, and I think she accidentally hit stuff. If I leave it open, I know things accidentally get clicked on. But again, maybe it was that, because I did have Stream Deck open when we started tonight. All right. But Hamas official says it rejects new U.S. Gaza ceasefire plan backed by Israel. Dex, do you want to go over this?
Well, just, yesterday, the U.S. was saying Israel had signed off on it, and they thought the plan was going to go through, and they needed to get Hamas to sign off on it. Well, now the senior official is coming out and saying they're absolutely going to reject it from Hamas side. So it sounds like the release of more hostages and a ceasefire deal is going to end. Although I think, from a ceasefire perspective, I think, Israel's basically handing it to them in a very difficult way, in the sense that they're just obliterating the strip. So I don't know. I can't understand why they'd want to say, let's keep fighting, but I guess they are. And that's what it sounds like. It sounds like the deal just fell apart again. So I guess the strip will stay under fire as it's been most recently.
It seems like publicly they are talking about nothing but peace deals. But then again, all of these have failed. Russia and Ukraine, and Israel and Iran, all of these deals are always failing. It seems to me like it's never going to come. And that would go along with my core belief that this is all a show, that this is stalling. All of the peace deals are being used to stall while they get ready. And this is why I think this. You see, all of the countries, all of our adversaries are all of a sudden quickening up all of their production. They are all making their destroyers and their carriers, and they are all making their drone cargo planes and all of these things. They are doing it at such a rate, it is insane. Even North Korea is releasing new boats and new things. And that goes to part of our story tonight, which is quotes by Macron, which we'll talk about here in a moment. They're essentially saying NATO is going to join if this happens, right? So we're going to talk about that. So with that being said, Macron to China, keep North Korea out of Ukraine war or risk NATO coming to Asia. And I think it's interesting. Macron is talking to China, keep North Korea out of Ukraine or Ukraine war or risk NATO coming to Asia. French President Emmanuel Macron warned China that NATO could become more deeply involved if Beijing does not do more to stop North Korea from taking part in Russia's war on Ukraine. Isn't that interesting that he is talking to China? I've been saying this for a long time, even before, even when China was talking about a peace deal for Ukraine and Russia. I said China's the one orchestrating this all. China, Russia has a GDP of $2 trillion a year. Hell, New York has a bigger GDP, the state, than all of Russia. Now, mind you, Russia spends half of their GDP, more of their GDP than any other place in the world, or at least percentage-wise. They spend half their GDP on their military. So they don't focus on fixing the roads. They focus on fixing their military. They're heavily focused on that. That is why they are a superpower, because of their nukes and their military. So don't forget that. Everybody talks about how much money they have. $1 trillion a year is enough to absolutely become a superpower. Ours has never hit $1 trillion. I don't know if theirs is at $1 trillion, but basically 50% of their GDP. North Korea, and this is a direct quote from President Macron, North Korea in Ukraine is a big question for all of us. If China doesn't want NATO to be involved in Southeast Asia, it should prevent North Korea from being engaged on European soil. Macron said, France has long maintained that the transatlantic military alliance shouldn't expand its reach into Asia, and led the campaign to block the opening of NATO liaison office in Japan in 2023. Says, I had objected to NATO having a role in Asia because I don't believe it is being enrolled in someone else's strategic rivalry, Macron said. North Korean troops have supported the Kremlin's war on Ukraine as part of the military pact between the two countries, with Moscow using Pyongyang soldiers to try to push Ukrainian forces out of the Kursk region with southwestern Russia. Macron's speech comes on the heels of an Asian tour that started with a marital dispute that took him to Vietnam and Indonesia. And again, that was the fight where he got punched in the face by his, do you call it wife? Yes, wife. And then his trip is concluding in Singapore, where he was invited to deliver the keynote speech at the International Institute for Strategic Studies, Shangri-La Dialogue. So the French president also warned against the risk of nuclear proliferation and potential collapse of the global order established after World War II. He's literally talking about a World War III scenario and the collapse of what we know as the structure that we have right now. And this is what I've been talking about forever. And people are still just not seeing what's happening here. The thing is the media has people so on a roller coaster that they don't know what to believe. But go with your gut time and time again. After years and years and years, what we've been saying is absolutely still holding true. They're moving one step at a time towards World War III. And when World War III comes, my detractors will say, oh, well, yeah, if you eventually throw enough crap at the wall, eventually it will stick. You know, if you say World War III is happening, eventually it will happen. Well, we've shown you every sign for 8 years now, every sign that everything was turning towards this. And I showed you some of the earliest signs there were. And at that point, I knew. And now you're seeing the final stages of preparing for World War III. I mean, the fact that this has happened day by day and just one little centimeter at a time, if people saw all of the stuff that Europe has done on the borders of Russia, if they saw all of the trenches, all of the dragon's teeth, all of this done, if they had this all done in a week, people would have been freaking out 4 or 5 years ago. But since all of these things, all of these money changes, all of the path has changed over time, slow little increments, that people are just so used to it that it's not a shock. They also are teased with these peace deals and with the fact that, everything's going to be okay. Everything's not going to be okay. Heck, here in the U.S., our president, they attempted to take him out. They literally tried to attempt to take him out. And by they, we were infiltrated. That's the thing. In my opinion, we were infiltrated big time. And we were trying to take ourselves out, just like we were trying to take ourselves out back in the 60s. And they ended up succeeding back then. Imagine how these events would have changed the world, how they would have changed the United States. When you look at this, we are post-CV back in 2019. And again, it's funny that they're talking about a new strain and a new thing right now, because right now, if you look at the post-CV world, we had the entire world shut down for 4 months or something like that. I mean, everything was shut down. Factories, homes, everything, roadways, you had the entire world shut down. The world does not recover from that. The world gets torn down and gets rebuilt. We are at the heels of this. And if you're smart, you're going to be prepping for this. Dex, France, who has also, it's like all these timely things. France said that they would try to put other countries, or they said that they would think about putting other countries under their nuclear umbrella, essentially being the America of Europe.
Well, look, he wants to be the leader of the EU, or he wants to be seen as the leader of the EU. They don't have the highest GDP, Germany does, but they're number 2, France is. They also have the largest landmass, obviously, being if size of land matters when it comes to EU nations and the union there. But it's been clear he has been trying to jockey for this leadership role with his nukes, with saying they're going to, be the sort of the protector of Ukraine and everyone else in Europe, and trying to take that position that America used to have with NATO. And he's definitely wants that.
Yeah, this is something that isn't going away. This is something where you see every peace deal, and I get comments all the time. Well, they're probably going to work out this peace. And did you see the news about the peace deal that they're putting out? 5 peace deals ago with 2 different countries, I said that it's not going to end well. That they're stalling. They're stalling because they're putting something together. They're putting something together that's so massive. And people didn't believe me in 2019 when this all happened. When I knew that this thing was different. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been at the first victim in Bellevue. I wouldn't have been outside physically videotaping and asking nurses, like, hey, who's in there? What's in there? Do they really have a robot nurse serving this person? You know, what was going on? And at that time, nobody cared about it. Literally nobody cared about the first patient here in the country. And I said, I knew this because the year before that, the entire year before that, I was saying, hey, it looks like they're planning for something. You've got global orders saying, hey, when the next, demic hits, it's going to affect the world worse than anything we've ever seen. And they were doing the financial numbers. They were working it out. They were wargaming it out. They were doing practices down at the frickin' Pike Place Market where I live, essentially masked up and everything. And I covered these things and I knew, and people didn't believe it. This World War III is not the end of the world. People associate World War III because of all of the fan fiction and because of all of the movies and TV that it is the end of the world. It's been like that since World War II because World War II was so scary. The people that it affected and the legacy it left was that almost every family here had somebody in their family that was either lost to World War II or fought in it, right? Same with Europe. You had two different continents that had such a indent and a scar left in their family that everybody really did kind of put this end of the world attachment to world wars. But a world war is set to structure the world. And if you look at what's been happening since especially 1980 when China opened their door to capitalism, they are slowly trying to turn into number one. We are distracted by a million different things, and people aren't realizing that some of the distractions are even in our own community. Again, I think that there's a lot happening all at the same time, but one thing you have to go with is your gut. Close your eyes, go with your gut. Do you think that this is going to happen? The people that say no, I would say it's only going to be a matter of time before we'll figure out who's closer to the truth. Again, I think that time and time again, it's been proven that this is moving forward, not backwards. And a lot of people think that key events will change what is going to happen. But in fact, key events like certain people in charge, they might actually bring it. We don't know. Again, there is a plan in the very top tiers of this world going on right now. If you couldn't see what was going on with our country over the last 10 years, that enough should be proof to anybody that some of the systems of the world have been completely infiltrated and completely compromised. All right, and then before we move on, I want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. Affiliates like this, they don't only just help independent media, they help you protect yourself. All of the affiliates on our show are things that we think could either save your life or get you home to your family. EMP Shield is one of the most important in my eyes because this will actually protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, and home, pretty much your entire setup, from not only an EMP strike from an adversary, but a Carrington-level event from the sun. Again, the EMP Shield is easy to put into your car. It takes less than 10 minutes. Again, this is red to red on your battery, black to black on your battery, green to ground or a part of your chassis, and then bolt it into an open spot and close your hood. You're done. Again, that will ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. It's working against a natural event that is not only possible, it is probable, it will happen again, and it is also going to protect you against a possible event, which is an EMP strike from any of our adversaries. MarfoogleNews.com/EMP. Code MARF will get you $50 off, and their Liberty sale will get you additional sales depending on how many you get. If you're outfitting your kids' cars, your wife, your husband, whatever combo it is, the more you get, the more you save. The best example for EMP shields, you're doing a whole family, you're getting $50 off per device for us. That's $200 plus their $200. So again, that's $200 plus $200. That's $400 off on EMP shields. It's the cheapest price you will ever get it at. There has never, ever been this kind of thing done. It was done for us for a contest, and then it was opened up to the public because of its success. So again, make sure to go check it out. And again, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Especially if you have a very high-end solar generator, something you've spent probably thousands on, it is most definitely something that you want to protect. You get insurance for your phone, your car, everything else. Make sure to get insurance for your electronic components in your cars. All right, and then, and then Saudi warns Iran to reach nuclear deal with Trump or risk Israeli strike. Dex, let's go over this, and exactly the opposite of peace.
Yes. So this is kind of interesting when you think about it. So the King Solomon bin al Aziz dispatched his son Prince Khalid bin Salman with a warning destined to the Ayatollah, encouraging him. And this also came last month too from the defense minister of Saudi Arabia to take the deal. In other words, they need to get out of this potential of having a war with Israel and take the deal. So now here's where I think it may backfire when you think about it. Iran and Saudi Arabia aren't necessarily the best of friends at all. They actually have a lot of conflict between them. There's a huge religious divide. Iran being Shia, Saudi Arabia being mostly Sunni. Obviously Arabia versus Persia, which Persia was the big empire that was from Iran all the way over to Turkey. There's political ideology that's different. Like obviously Iran is non-Western, where Saudi Arabia aligns with the Western. They both want to be the dominant players in the Middle East, especially around the Gulf in that area. And they both have huge oil economies and they compete with one another. So I think just the act of Saudi Arabia going in and telling Iran what they should do might even embolden them to not want to do it, because they don't want to say they kowtowed to Saudi Arabia telling them what they should do. So I don't know if it actually helps, but nonetheless, that's what they're reporting. It's come out in the last day that these two different incidences with Saudi Arabia trying to push Iran into the U.S. deal. Obviously, Saudi Arabia doesn't want to see the war happen because it'll have an impact on them, but both on oil and even on regional conflict. It will have spillover for sure.
Yeah, and as far as, Iran and everything that is set up, every step that they took to move forward, it is all still in place. You still got bombers in Diego Garcia. You still have some sort of strange event happening. You had 72 flights, I think it was, over 70 flights that went to Bagram Air Base. And you don't know what the heck actually happened with that. The supposedly CIA agents moved in there with who knows what. But I am absolutely guessing, and I believe from former operations, especially right after 2001, that they brought a bunch of cash and they're paying locals to essentially cause chaos or to do missions. That's what the CIA does. They come with, briefcases of $2 million and they pay local groups to essentially avoid having our boots on the ground. Even when there's no boots on the ground, as they say, that's a political thing. Once we're there, it's all out. But before that, that doesn't mean we don't have boots on the ground. If the U.S. is directly paying somebody to do something, if they're directly paying a military force to do something, then we have boots on the ground. And I believe we do. So especially when you have a takeover of Syria, like Iran was attached with Syria, you had a takeover in 11 days. Who else but the U.S. and Israel could do that? I don't think anybody else could. And if people forget that there were thousands of airstrikes that coincided in those 11 days, where this mystery man who was he had a $10 million bounty on his head, he was former Al-Qaeda, and he somehow is able to do a CNN interview, a CNN exclusive at that. People think that that's a coincidence? Sorry, I can't. He is the puppet that they put in, and by they, I mean us, right? Maybe it's a good thing. Don't know. But I do know that they are expecting a civil conflict there, and we are about to get into a much more trouble here with this entire Middle East. And this is just a part of a even bigger puzzle. Iran is working directly with China, is working directly with Russia, is working directly with Venezuela. Venezuela, we just covered this yesterday. If you missed yesterday's show, go back to that. Venezuela, there's already action being taken. Venezuela versus Guyana. I've mentioned it the entire time. After that initial vote for the referendum to take over their neighbor Guyana was done, this was back at a time when people were paying attention to Venezuela because Iranian ships were heading there. One of them mysteriously sank on the way to Venezuela. Well, that happened. Everybody paid attention to it for about 2 days, and then everybody forgot. The reason this is important is you have all of these countries with one thing in common. They want the resources of their neighbor. They want money. They want their neighbor, or they have religious differences. And what they also have in common is each other. They have all signed treaties. They are all getting together, and they're all saying, hey, if we're going to take out this big bully, we've got to do it together. It's something that isn't going to go away. Now, by the way, thank you, and thank you, K Wildman. M St. G says internet expensive, yo. Yes, exactly. M St. G, thank you. K Wildman, local Washingtonian, new subscriber, but been watching since 2018. You know, K Wildman, there's so many people like you too, and we see it in our data. It's like 64% of the people that watch don't subscribe. That subscriber money, the subscriber actual number, it doesn't pay us money. It doesn't make us rich, right? The subscribers do not make us paid. But what they do is they let any guest that might come on the show, that gives them saying, hey, that's 500,000 subscriber channel. It makes us easier for us to get people on the show. Again, so I've even had people write me emails saying, well, I'm not going to contribute to the show by giving you a subscriber. If you know how YouTube works, we don't get paid by subscribers. It does not do anything for us financially. But what it does do is it gives us a bigger reputation. I can't talk today. And it allows us to get bigger guests. Now, you guys, the people that, I want to briefly go on a side thing about this whole black eye thing. So a couple of comments, and I know it's not the majority, talked about this whole black eye thing on the video we just did. A couple of people said, well, people with greater discernment, there's a lot of people covering these black eyes with greater discernment. I'm not saying that the black eye thing is completely false. If something sticks around for years and years and years, there's usually a seed of truth. I was strictly talking about Elon. Elon is a multi-billionaire, and that little tiny mark on his face, that to me looks like more like a kid smacked you in the face with something. And I guess he said, he told his son like, oh, I punched me, and he actually punched him or something. I've had these kind of interactions with my 4-year-old son a ton. I mean, he's smacked me up plenty of times messing around. With all my kids, so that's what I'm saying. And as far as some of the things, I just don't think that if you get a picture of a celebrity with a black eye, that's 1,000% proof that they're part of some group. And I also pointed out that usually that means, these are people that are already powerful and everything else. Now, I did want to pull this up because this is really interesting. This is Grok's essentially breakdown of what they think it is, right? Well, listen to these 5 things and see if you agree. Now, again, I know there's other creators talking about this and probably saying, hey, this is something. There is a couple of these that I actually could believe more than others. But initiation rituals, alleged rituals where individuals eat pain to gain power linked to secret societies. Okay, this one, half the people on the list that we showed you in the pictures of all these people, they were already in power. I would believe an embarrassment thing more than that. But again, a punch in the eye, I don't see that being as part of these things. But again, they say it could be, some sort of recovery from a surgery, right? Something put in. They said soul scalping, a theory popularized by Sherry Shriner, claiming that their souls are being replaced by demonic entities or reptiles, right? So again, I don't think that one either. Now, this is actually one that a lot of people will immediately go, whoa, oh yeah, that's all fake. I don't know about that. And again, in my opinion, I do know that there's stuff that the very, very rich people have access to and get. It's some of the horrendous stuff to even possess and to get. So as far as that goes, I don't know though, because I don't see the people that have this getting any younger or looking any younger, right? And then possession. I don't buy that one either. And then implants or control devices. This one I could. Speculation that black eyes are caused by surgical implants like cybernetic devices behind the eye used to control or feed information to the elites. I don't buy that with an Elon at least because he's up there. He's up at the very top as theorized in some online discussion. Now, if there's other theories on this, again, email me at adam@marfooglenews.com. But as far as this goes, it's like the number of people that end up having these, because we have so many more people now kind of waking up to all of this stuff. but you have so many other creators and people coming out and talking about stuff. And I'm not talking about the ones that you may know and have watched for years. I'm talking about people that are starting out on TikTok right now. Everybody is turning into a creator, and everybody is turning into this, where they're talking about the really strange things. If you haven't noticed, not only Twitter, but TikTok is full of videos saying, did you know this? And a lot of this information is stuff that we've known since like 2001. People are just finding out about what happened in 2001 and waking up to all of this stuff. Going, how did it fall straight down? Oh, how did all of the IDs survive, but you didn't have a piece of the engine bigger than a bread box? Yeah, there's a lot of freaking weird stuff. And then why did so many people hear boom, 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 right? It's like there's people waking up to that right now. I have fully believed in this. But just to attach somebody, here's the part that I don't get. Just like I believe that people shouldn't be guilty until proven guilty, now it's guilty until proven innocent. Saying, when the whole thing was going down with Johnny Depp, there's the whole thing that went down during all of the riots, where people immediately jumped the gun before seeing, the body cam footage and things like this. Just like I believe people should wait on that, I think people should have proof for this kind of stuff. Because that is the American way in me that really sticks out, and it's innocent until proven guilty. But just the fact that a celebrity has a photo of a black eye, which could have came from some crazy stalker that punched them in the face, or getting hit with a pole, or walking into a cupboard, which, again, I haven't had a stalker punch me, but I've had a couple of those things happen to me. I wasn't on YouTube yet, so I don't have any shots of me with a black eye. But if I did, people would think that. And I don't think that's right either. People call everybody a shill or FBI this, and that. I would say, look, like people called us that. We're still at the same subscriber number and slowly going down since years ago. We have had a very core audience that have stuck with us, and you're the only reason we're still here. Otherwise, there's been a few times where I've done second jobs. I've had to work from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then literally work on stuff during my lunch hour and this isn't in the beginning. This is like last year. So again, and then you see other channels that talk about the things that are specifically banned in the actual terms of service of this thing. And somehow they're getting 2-3 million subscribers in a very short amount of time. And then you look at those people and you're like, wait, this person's like not even in the country possibly, right? And they're covering some of the most craziest stuff, and people are just gobbling it up. That, to me, says that some of these things are meant to distract. Are people forgetting that there are real people that are in there? And I bet you if they are real shills or CIA agents, that you're not going to know they are. How would these people are so smart, they're not going to let you know they're in it. And if they do, if there's chatter about that, then they're going to disappear. They're not going to proceed to grow bigger and whatever else. If their cover is blown, their cover is blown. If there's any chatter about that, they're going to. And then I look and some of these people that are just growing insanely, I'm like, there's nothing online, no chatter at all. In fact, it's weird. I'm like, where is the Google results for this? How are they paying Google? Like, how would you prevent all of the negative things about you showing up in the first 50 pages? Whereas us, we had a Discord that was taken down, everything. So I guess I more so stand up for the principle of innocent until proven guilty instead of vice versa, which has happened in our community. Everybody just tags people. I'm sure there's other people in my position, people I don't actually like, that should have grown and should have had people listening to them, but they are not. Their channels are dead and they're done. And that's because people claimed that they were these things for no reason. And again, the success isn't necessarily a show of that they're bad, but certain success, I'm like, how do people not see that this is kind of weird? And being able to cover things in specifically banned in the terms of service, how does that work? That means, somebody's talking on the back end with the people that write the terms of service. So with this, I know there's secret clubs, and I've told you guys about these. It is really wild. I mean, there's these groups that have been in charge. There's families that have been in charge, and people cannot believe it. It is so wild. But when you look at their family bloodlines and their heritages and what they've inherited, who they're related to, who they're married to, a lot of the times, you've heard of arranged marriages in Indian culture and in other cultures. There's arranged marriages in this too. Macron that we're talking about tonight, to me, that seems more like an arranged marriage. Is he calling the shots or is his wife? You know, it makes you wonder. And the people that they're related to is absolutely, and so many are married in. You've got key figures that were in 2 administrations ago, a ton of key figures that were in 2 presidents ago's administration that are married specifically to very powerful people in almost every media position. How does that happen? I mean, really, like, how does that happen to the T? Do they have, media luncheons? It doesn't make sense to me. But again, I went off on a side tangent. Thank you guys for sticking with it. Dex, do you get what I mean? Did I communicate that correctly?
Perfectly.
All right, so let's go over the next story, which is, of course, Russia's vast nuclear modernization exposed in unprecedented security breach.
Yeah, so a massive tranche of over 2 million documents have been found in a public database, shedding light on Russia's expansion and modernization of its highly sensitive nuclear weapons complex. A Danish investigative outlet has published and talked about this on Wednesday. So the files include detailed blueprints of strategic missile forces bases near the Orenburg region, the town of Yasny. The 2 bases are equipped with avant-garde hypersonic glide vehicles, one of Russia's most advanced nuclear delivery systems. Basically, up until now, we've only been able to monitor these bases from above using satellite imagery. But now with the help of the unique drawings, we can see now for the first time what's inside the buildings all the way to the underground. It's completely unprecedented amongst a lot of other data that they got out of all of this. So this is a major leak of information from Russia's nuclear secrets. And apparently it's going to give some insights that we've never had before, that the West has never had before. So certainly they'll have a better idea how to target this base should the day ever come that we actually target. I wonder what Ukraine may do with that information, but I'm thinking more just what the DoD here in America, they've got every target figured out on every plot of land across the world. And I'm sure this one will be updated now that they've got blueprint information.
Yeah, and here's one of the quotes here. Until now, we've only been able to monitor these bases from above using satellite imagery. Director of Nuclear Information Project at the Federation of American Scientists told Danwatch and Der Spiegel. Now, with the help of these unique drawings, we can now, for the first time, get inside the buildings and all the way underground. It's completely unprecedented. Among the leaked materials are construction plans, security system diagrams, and details of wall signage inside the facilities with messages like stop, turn around, forbidden zone, and the military oath and rules for shoe care. What's the rules for shoe care? I didn't get that one. Dex, what can you think of? Like, why shoe care? I still...
It's a Russian thing,
I guess. And then, another side thing that has been coming out is a lot more people are posting videos of the underground pathways and the underground systems that are under the United States. That's one that I do absolutely believe in. And I don't know if you've seen recently, but people are coming out with more and more footage of that. And I don't know if you guys know this, but there's been interviews more recent and in the last 2 years talking about something we talked about 6 or 7 years ago with Fugel fam callers, specifically one that was from California, and he ended up moving to New Zealand out of all places. Basically, he bugged out. And this was a truck driver that was doing the underground systems and talked about how they have their own stores, their own McDonald's, how they have their own Starbucks down there, all with military assets as the workers. So imagine going into the military, getting trained for all this stuff, doing all sorts of physical training and then ending up being a barista. Well, that's exactly what some of these clearanced soldiers are doing. They're down there for the trucking systems, which a truck could go, in my belief, a truck could go from underneath California all the way to New York. These systems make absolute sense. When you go to other countries, and once we go to war with other countries, what we've saw with, of course, even the Strip, you see these vast underground tunnels. Well, we're in a country not only that has tons of money, that has, of course, the companies and the people that would do it. We have had explosions and odd earthquakes for now years all over the country. People that can't explain why their house is shaking, but there's nothing on the USGS, not Geigers, the earthquake detectors, right? And you hear these explosions underneath the ground. Well, you have companies like the Boring Company. Look at Elon right now, how connected he is, how rich he is. And people are thinking that's just from Tesla, that's just from SpaceX. That's also from the Boring Company. The Boring Company literally, digs tunnels. I guarantee you he's doing tons of secret tunneling with that. And before him, there were, diggers like Big Bertha here in Seattle. Tunnelers like that have been working overtime for 30, 40 years. I bet we have one of the most expansive underground systems that any other country has. Russia has it. China has it. Why would we not have it? That's the crazy thing. When people doubt that there's an underground system, I'm like, what are you thinking? And I think that we are going to have to use it at some point. And that's another one that everybody is now talking about. And it's like, this is stuff we talked about years ago, but specifically the claims of Starbucks and McDonald's. That came out now. If you guys have been with us for a long time, you remember one of our callers talked about that 7 years ago. And now it's coming out and people are talking on their deathbeds. People are putting out video. Thank you, Craig Alicious. Thank you so much for being a member for 24 months. That's 2 years. That is absolutely awesome. Rochelle Cooley, thank you for, again, gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. And then Ukrainian cities terrorized by North Korean weapons in Russian hands. So, again, North Korea attached to all of this, the timing of the release of all of this. Multinational team monitoring sanctions says that 20,000 container loads of missiles, artillery, rocket launchers, and other munitions illegally supplied to Russia. Russian forces have used North Korean weapons to intensify missile attacks against critical civilian infrastructure in Ukraine and terrorize entire cities, according to a report by the UN members that reveals the extent of Moscow's dependence on the regime in Pyongyang. I see from this, if they're saying that Russia is dependent on North Korea, now you have Macron saying to China, don't let North Korea be a part of this, otherwise NATO is going to get involved. I see the setup, and just tell me if I'm wrong, do you see a setup where they're going to start saying North Korea is the target, not for North Korea being North Korea, but North Korea being the source of Russian arms, right? They're going to say, well, we need to cut this off before it gets there. Or they start stopping try to get in between and start stopping the containers, right? Well, one thing that they're leaving out here is that China, again, I think it all goes back to China. China has been delivering thousands and thousands of containers to North Korea, and then North Korea is then sending it there. Now, with all of this tariff stuff going on, man, I could imagine that China would be turning a lot of these factories into war machines right now. I wonder if we're going to see evidence very soon that China is now turning some of the manufacturers that used to make, say, knockoff toys into a war-making machine. If we see China start doing what Russia has already done, Russia's pumping out more tanks in a month than we do here in the U.S. in a year. If they start making their country into that, then we really need to pay attention. And who's to say they haven't already? Dex, do you see the kind of pointing towards North Korea as being the source? And basically, because of North Korea, Russia is able to continue and have all of these new weapons and artillery and everything else.
Right. Well, I mean, it's clear. Macron makes the mention, and you've got the backup now of this report coming out saying specifically how much the North Korean, military and specifically their weaponry is decimating Ukraine. So yeah, the timing is everything on it, and they obviously seem well coordinated at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like the news, it all is grouped. Pay attention to the grouping of news every single day. When you have 3 stories that aren't actually connected, they don't put them as connected, but you can easily see it. And it's not connecting crazy dots. It's showing that these things are all related. The reason Macron probably came out is because they probably coordinated the release of this document, of this report. It makes a complete sense. Perfected love casts out all fear. Perfected love casts no fear. One love. Hey, one love. Nice to see you. Mark Anthony, you're really on it tonight, Adam. Spot on, buddy. Hey, well, thank you, Mark. And again, I hope more people see not what we say, but how we say it and how to look at this stuff. Because we're not trying to show you the exact pattern. We're trying to teach you how to see it and how to spot it. How to spot when things are too weird, and then you have 2,000, anywhere from 500 to 3,000 people watching next to you. And if all of them are saying that this seems weird, this is off, this is BS, odds are it is. And that's why it's good to have a live audience to be able to bounce off and to hear their opinions of what's going on as well. Everybody's got varying opinions here, but one thing we do have in common is that we are all working on our discernment. As far as those comments earlier saying that maybe I don't have enough discernment, maybe I don't. I think that we work on discernment our entire lives. I think that, with age comes wisdom. That is, there's no truer statement. I mean, just look at your 20-year-old self compared to your 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old self. Heck, look up 10 years ago and see where you were. Were you as wisdomed as you are now? I highly doubt it. Heck, when we're 20, we think we're adults. We think we know everything. We don't. We know nothing. I look at my 19-year-old and I can't believe it. I look at high school students and they look like tiny, tiny children. And when we were in high school, we actually thought we had it all together, that we were somehow put together. No. We thought we had a vision of the world. We knew nothing back then. And as you get older, there's this like built-in thing. And I think most people have this, a built-in want and a need to understand things. That's why a lot of people end up reading and researching and doing all of these things in their later years. I bet there's a lot of us too that wish we started earlier. Instead of doing half the stupid stuff we did, we wasted half of our, life on, just absolute madness and stupidity when we could have been learning and getting closer to the truth. China has developed the largest drone carrier in the world. Before we go into that, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out Jase. If you don't have antibiotics at home or if there's nothing on the spot, this is a really, really, really valuable thing to have in any kind of emergency. Again, this is a kit with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics, and I'm sure that many of you have probably had to go to the ER or go to even urgent care for something that you knew needed these. And you're like, gosh, I would just wish I had a Z-Pack or something. Again, these kind of things will happen. But again, if you don't have these on hand, say what happens if there's a cyber attack that takes out all the hospitals and all of the pharmacies. We had 30,000 pharmacies go down in the last year. All of them were down for some week and a half at a time. And people could not get their regular prescriptions. And some with different insurances literally couldn't get it at all because the only places that did their insurance were basically out of commission. So again, if something major happens, which they are, W and the E and the F is predicting a huge cyber attack that will make CV, look like chicken feed, then it is highly recommended that you have something like this on hand. Not to mention any kind of physical disaster, storm, earthquake, fire, something that separates you from the medicine. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jase and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only are you going to save money, you are going to help our again, small channel at the same time. Go to marfooglenews.com/Jase and make sure to check out the list of add-ons and check out Jase Daily, where you can get a extended supply of your medicine, up to a year's supply of your regular medications that you may or may not be dependent on. Whether you like to being dependent on it or not, what happens if you don't have them? Are you in a dire situation where if you don't have them, you may perish? Then yeah, you might want to have extras on hand. That's Jase Daily. The Jase case is the kit where you can even add things like albuterol. All right, let's go back to this. Thank you, Jules B. I appreciate that. Thank you, Cage Crow, for Jammer 1. You might hit checks your magnesium's level. You might want to check your magnesium levels and all your electrolytes. The pain and cramps could be that. Hey, Marf, good job. Hey, I know that, I wouldn't advise Gatorade to fix electrolytes. First of all, electrolytes makes me think of Idiocracy, but no, I believe you're spot on with that. As far as, again, water too, and things that you just don't think to do. Just drinking water, enough water and good water, gosh, has changed my health and changed my gut health. But yeah, and again, that's a great magnesium too. That has changed my gut health. Bobby Sue, thanks for the donation. Cage Crow. Hey, Bobby, thank you for popping in there and saying thank you as well. Thank your mods by dropping an M in the chat. You're awesome, Cage Crow. Good to see you here tonight. WizGen, thank you. And then we have, of course, Jules B says, love the work you and Dex do. Always shoulders to the wheel. Greatest content. Thank you. That's a really, really awesome comment. Thank you. And then China has developed the largest drone carrier in the world, and it's getting ready for takeoff. So we just talked about this last week, and now they're saying that, one of these is actually already going to be operational and going to be flying around. Dex, do you want to talk about this and what is about to be deployed?
Yeah, so if you guys remember, it's the drone carrier plane. It's a drone itself. It's a giant drone full of thousands of smaller drones that all launch out the sides and or launch from it. And then those can be orchestrated in a drone swarm. So the big news is that they're expecting to get this airborne or in operation by the end of the month, end of June. So basically a month from now, as after tomorrow.
Why so quick?
At the end of the month. So yeah, that's a great question. And where is it going to be operating would be the next question. But also important is what Colonel Andrew Konnicki, the head of the U.S. Marine Corps Systems Command Ground-Based Air Defense, said. He goes, that's the one thing that keeps him up at night is the swarms. The idea that these swarms can do that. Individual drones are often viewed as expendable, but when working together, they can accomplish a lot, especially when coordinated using artificial intelligence and machine learning to navigate obstacles and respond to some attempts to interfere with their operations. Also, drone swarms are often cheaper to build and maintain than the actual defense systems that are needed to shoot them down. So you spend a lot more, you waste a lot more of your enemy's money sending in cheap drone swarms because they have to spend so much money to take them out.
I was trying to find, Dex, can you help me find the image of their prototype that releases out the sides of it? Was that a video? That was a video on Twitter, was it not? I wonder if I could probably just ask Rob.
It was on our show. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Usually I would just go to marfooglenews.com and look for it. In fact, let me see here. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, it's in the thumbnail. Our skies will be filled May 19th.
TV or news? Was it on news?
TV.
So look at this. We can go to our website. You could type in drone carrier, something like that in the search, and this is all archived. So every one of these shows has that day's news. This is an extremely powerful tool, especially for truthers or other creators. I know that there's a couple big creators, some of which I might have pissed off today, that use our website because it is a really useful tool to go back and find the news for a specific day. Especially even because we're Monday through Friday, but Saturday and Sunday is usually covered on Monday. So pretty much everything is here. If it was important, see, look at it here. Our skies will be filled, smashes into jet right here at the bottom left. So click on this. You have the archived articles from that day. Here's the Twitter video here. And we didn't get hit for copyright or anything, right? I don't think we did. Oh, God dang it. Yeah, we will if we have sound. Okay. Yeah, look at this thing. So, and let me see if I can increase the quality here. Let me actually go to the tweet instead of, let me go here. Show you this. This is something I truly believe people need to pay attention for. Here, hold on. Just mute the whole thing. There we go. So check that out. Look at this. And this is the prototype. Dex had a lot of really very good questions about this and doubts, which make 100% sense. Obviously, this is a video to show a prototype, but if you look at what they show is, so this plane is flying however fast, and then these things just come straight out. That is most likely not exactly how they look. But I don't know. As far as the pressure up at 50,000 feet, if these were released at 50,000 feet, the drag on these, can they shoot them out? And is this in slow-mo? Could they end up releasing these things if they are launched out super fast? Could they go straight out like that? The thing is, you would think that they would go like this out and go whoop and get caught by the wind. How would the wings not get caught by the wind? Do you see what we're saying here? Dex pointed that right away. But this may not even be exactly how it is. This might be the prototype. I do believe these are getting, not only manufactured, but these are going to be deployed in the Taiwan War. Each one of these drones, and this is the other thing, they're working on these at all sizes. So you release 100 drones. We just talked about these the other night on this show. Let's go back a notch. So this show is easy to find as well. You just go up to the very top. Let's go to news. Actually, let's go to the home. You'll see this one. China's new weapon. China and Russia are making insect-size drones. So imagine if they release 100 drones on this, and then those 100 drones are able to release 1,000 insect-sized drones that all autonomously in a swarm can pick out targets via AI. AI has, a profile on each American. You know that CIA has said that they have less information than China does on each one of us because of all of the hacked information, all of the infiltration that China has done. They have basically a book on each one of us, especially somebody like me who's in the public eye. Guarantee you, they have a profile of me. And they have profiles on people that own bang bangs. They have all sorts of stuff. So imagine something like this releasing 100 drones, those 100 drones then releasing 1,000 drones, and each one of these could take out a single human being. You have a fleet of 30 or 40 of these, plus you have other technology that they say that they have. If they are telling the truth on some of this stuff, we have a very scary, scary future. Pete Hegseth says that they could take out our carriers in as little as 20 minutes. Hence, why we're probably making the Golden Dome, which is a game changer if we get it done, especially in the timeline that President Trump says it's going to be done by 2028. If they think it's going to be done 2028, war with China is going to be 2027 or 2026. So this is coming soon, and time flies. Dex, go ahead.
Chinese nesting drones, right? You take one big drone, which can go at 20,000 feet or 50,000 feet, and then you put a bunch of like 100 smaller drones in it, which can then go down to the lower altitude and use up their energy getting there, to then release the little micro drones that are nested inside of them, which don't have the power to travel that distance. But once they get down to the ground, they don't have far to go. They just start picking out the people.
Yeah, the distance all of this could go could not happen years ago. And people like Elon that had Tesla battery technology, wasn't Tesla's battery technology open source as well? Didn't he share it with the world, how they did their batteries? I feel like that was a thing.
Yeah, I think he did something like that to help the world.
Well, it also helped progress it in China and everything else. China was also ahead of this battery technology too, because they are making 90% of the world's solar panels, solar generators, all of this stuff. They had the resource and the actual resources on a monopoly. That's another part of all of this. It's just so funny that, there was a political push to go solar and to do all of this, when who does that benefit? If one country has monopoly on this technology, isn't it funny that the previous administration, which in many cases did all these things that turned not only a blind eye to China, but helped them, and all of the media, which was being paid through USAID, you saw all of these journalists that were getting paid. we also had news come out that, these media companies were protecting China and even saying positive things and getting paid directly by China to say, do a positive piece on the Spratly Islands, or, undo some sort of negativity said by China, right? It seems to me like the solar thing would have prospered China, and mostly China. Dex, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it absolutely would. That's because they manufactured it all, and nobody else decided to get into the manufacturing business. Recently, some U.S. companies have started, and they are producing panels that are maybe twice the cost of a China panel. They're not all the way down there yet, but we certainly need to invest in it. But here, the reason why is the cost of per watt on solar compared to any other like gas or coal or even nuclear. Nuclear is fairly cheap, but it's still dramatically cheaper than nuclear. Like we could build an entire farm in the desert and double the power of the US on solar, and it wouldn't cost us near what it would cost if we tried to do that with nuclear power plants or coal or other plants. So but the downside is we would be so embedded with China. We'd be so dependent on it. So we've got to get out of that. We've got to start making it ourselves.
We need to not only manufacture everything. They needed a resource though. They needed the key components to make all of this. And as of right now, we are still dependent on China for a lot of this stuff. If you remember when Energy, the company, had a really hard time with this because some of the resources, the key resources, the things that go into it, those resources are in monopoly with China, right? So even if you're getting an American generator, even if you got a bug out XP, some of those things, some of the resources, the stuff that goes into the batteries has to come from China. One thing you want to look in, if you are going solar, you want to make sure that you have something that's front loaded, that the software, everything is done, manufactured, that it's put together here. Especially after hearing that news about them putting it back up cellular radios in solar inverters in Spain and in the US. The US is the one who came out and said that. They found cellular radios that basically superseded their firewalls. So even though we had firewalls, which their whole thing was to protect from being hacked or taken over, they had a physical item put in there and something buried in something that's probably the size of a house that you would have to take the thing entirely apart to find. Well, after Spain, I think that's exactly what they did. They said, we need to take this thing apart and make sure there's nothing in there. Dex, go ahead. And they found it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the difference in buying a Chinese-owned product versus a made in China, American designed and loaded product, right? It's impossible to get the product at any other country because they're only made there. But, when a company in America designs it, it's their tech. They know the hardware. They design the hardware. They put the hardware in, and they have it manufactured in China because the lithium and everything else you just can't get. And it gets put together. But when it comes back in, they check it. They know exactly what it is, and they load the software in it because it's U.S. software, not China software. But if it's a Chinese-owned company, nobody double checks that except for China. And if they're the ones that want the backdoor in it, guess what? It's going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that a lot of things are going to change again with this big, beautiful bill too. If you were planning on going with the bug out XP, I would highly recommend going and checking that out soon, because on the anything with I think at least one XP, the battery, that actually qualifies because it's over 3,000 watts for the tax. Is it a tax rebate or a tax credit? It's a tax rebate.
Credit.
Yeah, it's a tax credit. So that if you're waiting to get that, I wouldn't, because under the big beautiful bill, they are removing a lot of that. I don't know if that tax credit is going to be there, and I don't know when it gets cut off. But I highly recommend doing that because, again, I think everybody should have gas and solar. If you had that, you're in a dream world. But if you want something big capacity, that's the XP. There's also a lot of the folks that got energy. Those are awesome units too. Unfortunately, they are on pause right now. And then Stephen McMahon, is anybody in North America making the panels yet? I'm sure there's got to be.
Yeah,
they're so expensive.
North Carolina has somebody that just started making them and making them fairly cheap, but they're still double the price of China.
There's things going on. There's deals between companies, and they're trying to bring all of the manufacturing in, but it's going to take a long time. And then mystery over Elon Musk's black eye as he joins Trump in the Oval Office. So if you look at this, which by the way, I'm going to go over to Twitter here real quick because Twitter has a lot of the stuff on here. If you look, one of the big most shared is Matt Wallace and his post of this and says, pay attention. So you have this, right? I don't know how they got I guess that was one of the journalists' pictures. They zoomed in. God, that's high quality. They've got to be 15 feet away from him. But yeah, so that's the black eye they're talking about. If you look at some of the pictures of some of the other people that they say, they're really big black eyes. Is that a surgery putting an implant in or something? Again, this is what somebody is saying. The thing is, though, after seeing X publicly, his son looks like a firecracker. Gosh, his son picked his nose and put his booger on the presidential desk. And then was like pulling on his ears, physically like tearing out his ears when he had him on his shoulders in that press conference. I honestly, his kid reminds me a lot of my son. And I believe he totally could have done that. The thing is, though, is once you have a black eye, if you're at any kind of celebrity thing, it's easy for creators to go, oh, this is this. I'm sure that there's a seed. I know there's probably a seed of truth from one of these things because there are these really, really twisted secret things that go on. What I'm saying, though, is you don't get to a 500 billionaire and then join one of these clubs. If what they're saying is the initiation, if they're saying that his soul was just replaced, again, I don't know what everybody's different view is on what this actually means, but mainstream media is covering it all over the place. And because it's negative about Elon, then it gets rolled with AP and Independent and all of I think CNN might have even covered it. The mysterious black eye. Personally, as somebody who hurts myself all the time, stubs my toe, hits my head, I'm a klutz. My whole family is. My 19-year-old's just as bad as me. It's so funny how much alike my 19-year-old is like me. Constantly hurting. You hear one of us screaming some sort of obscenity at one point or another, stubbing our toe or doing something. And my third daughter, the 5-year-old, she is just the same too. It's like one of us is hurting each other, hurting ourselves at the same time. It's so funny. But as far as this goes, to say that this is, guilty until proven innocent, that they are part of something, I think you need other stuff, connections, who they know, what they've invested in, what schools they went to, who their cousin is, who their wife is. Like, I believe those are all solid ways you can make these connections. But when you see stuff like this, I think it's kind of sensational and it brings in other stuff from the past. And so many people, this is so entertaining that I think it does eat up a lot of people's time, along with a lot of other crazy things, right? As far as digging down into it, dig down into it. Do research about all of these different people that get it, right? Do that. But what my point is I guess, that a lot of this stuff, people just automatically, like that picture had Lucy Lawless, right? So she joins the secret group and then her big thing, the thing she's going to be known for is she's She-Ra, warrior princess. Like that was her big break. She is part of this secret group. She has her 15 minutes of fame as She-Ra, and that's why people think she's connected to the thing. I don't know. I know most of Hollywood has weird connections and things like this. I believe that most Hollywood, if they are long-term, that they mostly are in these circles. Cappy, you guys remember Cappy? He was in those circles for a minute, and I believe he was telling a lot of truth, and that's why he ended up, forcefully finding his way off a bridge. See, I think he really was saying some stuff, and in fact, some of the stuff he said was then later put out not only during EpiPen, but during what's his face, the rapper Diddy. So a lot of the stuff that he said before in a lot of his live streams. A lot of his stuff got wiped. A lot of people recorded his stuff, but he said a lot of stuff that was really disturbing. And he ended up paying the ultimate price for it. That's why there's still accounts to this day that have his name in it. I mean, he's got kind of like an army. But yeah, with this stuff, you know, again, look into all of it. I'm not saying not to, but I also see some of the people covering it, and I think, man, people that are growing this fast and that are sharing some of the other stories, it's like they're not careful about what they are saying is true. And there are so many gullible people out there. I mean, there's so many very gullible people in the world that you do end up distracting from the real stuff. And I get how important it is to be a creator. That's when I started it, I covered a lot of this stuff, and I would just, you know, freely shoot off theories. And I do believe that you have to be careful, because I realize how much effect it has. But again, I think that people should be asking questions. This video I found that was in there here is Zelensky and Macron before they became presidents. Man, what a crazy clip. This has Macron, and I don't know the verification of this, but Macron dancing in the 80s, it looks like, doing some really funky stuff. I had no idea. And can you imagine when this guy is like 20, 30 partying at a rave, his wife is like 50 or 60. Just kind of disturbing when you think about it. But yeah, lots of great comments. We'll post this on the website so you can get to this thread and you'll see the responses and you can go check it out for yourself. But as far as Elon, you know, what's really happening here, it seems like there's a rift. He went out, he says he's disappointed in the Big Beautiful Bill. The Big Beautiful Bill is going to cut out stuff for solar credits, all of these different things. It's going to be spending close to $3 trillion. And I believe, you know, a big part of that is this whole system. I don't think Elon's too happy. There's a few things that have happened here too. Elon, because of his special position, obviously a lot of people have been paying attention of how much he is gaining from it. They attached this, how big of a bill, $600 billion deal for all of the AI companies, and they did not include Elon's company. Dex, as far as some of the companies that are going to prosper from this, Elon will not. Do you think that he's not too happy about that?
Yeah, I think that one was the Saudi deal where they're creating a huge AI data center, and XAI was left out. He wanted to participate in it, and OpenAI got in, but XAI did not. XAI being Elon's company.
Yeah, so he might not actually be too happy about it. He said he was straight up disappointed. He said he basically said, you know, we saved all this money with Doge, and that it completely undermines Doge to do this big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill, who does prosper from it? You know, a lot of the tech companies, the Saudis, all of this. It's like, you know, you don't know which way everything's going to go. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Again, lots of crazy stuff here. Stephen McMahon says, let's see here. Is anybody in America making panels? Oh, okay, we got to that. Stephen McMahon, yeah, North Carolina. Pretty awesome that is happening. All right, you guys, have a great day. I hope that all of you enjoyed the show. I hope that you got something out of it. If you did, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to all. Share us out. If every one of you tried to share us out with somebody, it would be greatly appreciated, especially because we are held back. Again, it is very obvious who is closer over the target and then who is not, because it immediately stops you in your tracks. And to have this many people coming every single day and this many new people, and to have that not move an inch, that's just extremely weird. So something we did pissed off the people. So make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification bell, especially if you've been watching for years and are not subscribed. Help us, because it does help us, again, get guests. All right, Dex, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for your service today.
Love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, I hope you join me for the shoutro. Again, it is not a shout out. It is not a outro. It's a shoutro. And be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/friends over on marfooglenews.com. You've got lots of really, really great people over there, including Bobby Sue. Make sure to thank her. She is actually not on there. Ilea, of course, Trinity Redder, Blue Pill, Hi-Ho, Kermit the Frog here. We've got Wages World, Rip Curl. Everybody's over there, including Lisa Arhall, longest running mod. All right, you guys, be safe, be prepared. Marf out.
Flag above ya, is it the same one you think you under? I said I wonder, the flag above ya, is it the same one you think you under? I said I wonder, is someone taking over under the ground?